Welcome back, everyone. I am Friar Tuck, and this is my epoch, and Sam sends her hellos to all of you who keep saying hello to her. She says hello back. Tonight is going to be a cold night, and so we happen to find a really nice, it's almost like it's a brand new foam mattress, like a memory foam. So this thing's going to add some heat to us tonight. But anyways, what we're going to be talking about are the 5 dangers of homelessness. So let's go ahead and get into the first one. Something that I've heard recently, and this first one is gang initiation. I am hearing that, especially in the Northeast and the East Coast, especially that the homeless are being targeted by gangs for initiation. And not only that, you have these young kids that are just destructive and unruly that are also attacking the homeless. I've heard that they've burned down camps and that they have even burned one person alive. And so you have these criminal elements that will target you as homeless. And this is something new to me, but this is something that I am hearing a lot more about, especially in Chattanooga and Cincinnati. It was something that I heard quite a bit about. So the first danger you need to really worry about is being targeted by the gangs for initiation. But one other thing that I would say on a side note, just so that you don't think that, oh, well, just because I'm homeless they're targeting me, I would be willing to bet that those that are being targeted have done one of their dealers wrong, and this is just a way for them to get their initiation by giving it to somebody who deserves it in some way, because they did some shady dealings. That's a strong possibility, and out here, that's more likely the case than just something random. Violence isn't random out here. It is with intention. So that is the first danger you must worry about. Number 2 is infections leading to worse infections or other issues. So I met a guy when I was in Gainesville last year. If you remember me talking about him, he was the guy that was going to teach me how to make moonshine. And one of the things that he told me is that he got an infection and then he didn't get it well taken care of, and now he has gangrene. And now, having to deal with these infections, they can lead to something worse. Even with me and my hand, I'm keeping an eye on it. I make sure that I keep it clean. I make sure that I take care of it, because if not, I may end up losing a finger or maybe getting an even worse infection. And considering I already have immune issues because of being bit by a spider many years ago, I have to be extra vigilant. It is so often that people out here that they get injured, and either because they're high when it happens or they're drunk when it happens, and then they're like, well, I'd rather get high or drunk than go deal with it, or I can deal with it later, it'll be fine. Because a lot of your I guess you call it your judgment centers are being compromised at that point in time. So sometimes if you get into a funk, one of the things that may end up happening is just because you don't go take care of it, it leads to something worse. And so that's something that you as a person is homeless, or whether you're bugging out or going into for SHTF, or you are homeless, or you just decide to be a nomad, whatever your lifestyle is, this is something that is paramount. In history, infections and diseases cause the most death over anything else. So that would be something that I would definitely be concerned about, regardless of what lifestyle you live. This list of 5 dangers would not be complete without talking about freezing to death. If you guys remember last winter, we had a guy freeze to death when we had that deep freeze. I think we had 2 people die last year in Gainesville. One of the guys, it wasn't the drunk like I thought it would be, but it was a guy who he got wet, or something along those lines, and it just got cold. He didn't have the proper gear on, the proper attire. They don't really offer you cold weather gear out here as homeless, and any cold weather gear that they do offer you isn't really that functional. I mean, I'm lucky to have gotten a thermal, but I kind of have an idea of what I want. And, you know, I had to, during the summertime, piece together what it was that I needed for the winter, because once winter comes, it's just, it's the Walmart crap that gets handed down to us. And, you know, when you're out here, whether you're bugging out, whether you're homeless, or whatever lifestyle that you're living, if you have to rely on social services and, you know, a helping hand from time to time, you know, one of the things that you're really going to have to be thoughtful of is, you know, what quality of gear am I getting, and am I being prepared for winter? Because it's much easier to freeze to death than it is for anything else. And the biggest problem is it's not necessarily the temperature that's the problem. I mean, that's a big part of the problem, but it's the temperature change from summer to winter that really causes the issues. You know, because you can freeze to death in 40-degree weather, you can freeze to death in 0-degree weather. But it just has to do with the temperature swing. So if you're used to dealing with 90s and 100s for a good 6 months out of the year, and then all of a sudden it drops into the 40s, I mean, that is a big enough temperature swing for your body to have issues in one form or fashion. Now, things like frostbite won't happen until you get below freezing. But as far as like freezing to death, you can freeze to death above freezing, especially if you don't have the right gear. So that is something that you should definitely, take into consideration when you live a lifestyle that requires that you're outdoors, especially during these winter months. Okay, number 4 is tainted drugs. Okay, so you may say, oh, I'm not a drug addict, I'm not going to do drugs, I'm not gonna. You know what? You come out here, you see trauma, you see all kinds of crap. You may, that may be something that you do as time goes along. It may not be something that you do right away, you know, because you still have fight in you, but there's going to come a point when you see what's going on around you, and you may have that moment of lapse in judgment and decide, you know what, I give up for today. And then next thing you know, the wrong guy hands you the wrong thing, and then you're stuck on it. Also, what they like to do from time to time, especially if they're trying to test out a new drug or expand it, there's a possibility. It doesn't mean it happens all the time. It's just a possibility that they may put some of that in there so that you can keep coming back, and then they'll just sell you the actual product as time goes along. Because, you know, what they're trying to do is they're trying to jumpstart you on something. Or, you know, you may have somebody say, hey, here's some good stuff, you know, it's on me today. Because, like, I've had people do that, like, hey, you want to smoke some ice with me? No. I've even had a guy just like take me around the corner, show it to me. He's like, thinking I would fiend for it. And I'm like, no, don't want it, I'm good, I'm okay, you know. But if something like that happens to you, and then all of a sudden, let's say you rip off a dope dealer, let's say that, you know, they suspect you of being a rat or a snitch or something along those lines, or you cross some lines that you weren't supposed to. You were wrong to one of the gang leaders, family members, and you crossed a line to where, you know, it had to happen. Well, your dealer may end up spiking it. You know, I keep hearing about drugs being spiked with fentanyl now. It does happen, but it's more targeted than anything. They will do more like they'll try and jumpstart you before they just actually, you know, lace you with it. And to jumpstart you onto fentanyl, you got to do all the harder drugs first. You got to do like meth and heroin and crack and things like that, because fentanyl is just like, you get to a point where the drug is not giving you the high that you are looking for, and so you're chasing it again, and fentanyl becomes the next best high after you've ran the course on that. So again, this is just, you know, it's food for thought. It's something for you to consider. These are dangers that every person that's homeless, whether you're traveling trains, traveling trails, greyhounding it, rubber tramping it, whether you're a home bum, it doesn't matter. You're going to be exposed to this at some point in time in your travels. Okay, and so this is just something to be thoughtful of when doing it, because again, you cross the line, you may be targeted. And at least from everybody that I've talked to, that seems to be the general consensus. They're not going to, a dope dealer isn't going to screw himself, because that's money he's losing out on if he, gives you something he shouldn't. Unless he's really stupid and just kind of has a chip on his shoulder, which does happen from time to time. And number 5 is you got to worry about predators. I think of it more religions to be predatorial than anything, but also if you are in the alternative lifestyle, such as, gay, lesbian, bisexual, or whatever the alphabets they got going on right now, there are danger with predators. I actually had a neighbor that would brag that, he would go downtown and the boys would raise their shirts and everything else like that, and the ones that didn't want to remember what happened but wanted the money, he would roofie them. And sometimes if somebody wouldn't give him what he wanted, he would roofie them. And so you've got to worry about that in that lifestyle. But also you got to worry about the religious extremists, the zealots, the ones that are out there really trying to hide behind the cloth. Because there are a lot of them, and they do target the homeless, because the thing is homeless are not really that documented. Even nowadays, they're really not that documented. I'm known by my alias. I'm not known by my legal name. There are very few places that know my legal name. As far as my alias goes, that's what I go by out here, and it's what I go by when I go in and receive services. And so, it's hard to be able to find out what happens to somebody when something like that happens. But I've told you guys a story when I was in San Antonio. I was picked up by this cult, and they wanted us to holy roll, or they'd beat us. I couldn't look at a woman, or you get reprimanded, and they took the stuff of mine that they didn't like and just threw it in the garbage without my consent. They said, and so I've told you guys this story before. So these are people that you really have to worry about, because when you are traveling, especially if you travel by foot or other means other than driving a car because you got a job and you're just going to visit somebody on vacation, and even in that moment you still may be vulnerable, but not nearly as vulnerable as you are like hobos. And you hear her snoring. So anyways, this is something that you definitely have to worry about as an individual, and something that if I were you, I would strongly consider, is just keeping your head on a swivel for things like that. So, oh, she gets to see a train. Is this a freight train? No. She doesn't like trains. Okay. Well, we're learning, and this is gonna be a thing. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. This is if you want to help the channel, become a subscriber, watch the videos. Make sure you hit that bell notification so whenever I have a release, you're able to watch it. And I hope that you guys were able to learn something from my experiences and from what I've gathered out here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.